Hey guys, Ricky here with DoD Contract Academy, and today is part two of walking you through how to build a pipeline, how to identify opportunities, close those contracts. I want to give you actionable things to work on in this series of podcasts. I don't promise that I won't intermingle some interviews with some great companies that we have coming up that are selling to the government. In the last podcast, we talked about basically building the pipeline on a spreadsheet, which I don't like to do, but I want to give you something like what are the types of things, what are the columns, where can you actually record all of the opportunities that you're finding and manage them. Now, you want to use a CRM tool. We are developing one. We're almost there. And I can't wait to bring that to you guys. I'm really excited about it. But in the meantime, just a few opportunities. You can use your spreadsheet. You could certainly use Salesforce. You can use HubSpot. You can use whatever CRM tool you're using. They just require a lot of modification in order to get them, because none of them are designed for selling to the government. They're designed for B2B and B2C sales. So even when you go to the website and it says government sector, trust me, I've used just about everything out there, and I've never found anything set up with the steps that it takes to sell. So hopefully this gives you some ideas of how you can modify the system you're currently using, or if you're just using a spreadsheet to, lay that out. And then when we have our tool, we will offer that. We'll launch it here on the website, and you'll get to see what that looks like. But today, what we're going to talk about is finding those opportunities, right? Because I get the question all the time, Rick, confused, I'm lost. I need to understand what I need to do. Start with a way to record the opportunity so you can build your pipeline. Okay. Next, we're going to focus on finding the opportunities. Okay. And we're going to use the systems and tools that are free that you're going to be able to find online. So if you are listening to this in a podcast, I'm going to describe what I'm doing, but you may want to check out the YouTube channel because I will be putting it on YouTube. So you can watch and follow me there as well if you want to see the actual things that I'm clicking on. So the first thing that we are going to do, we're going to go to sam.gov. Okay. Some of you have your websites, or not your websites, but your companies registered there. This is the repository for government contracting. It's run by GSA. It's a government website. They're making improvements. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it can work, right? It can get you where you need to go. This is where you register your business, by the way. And this is also where you're going to find opportunities if you're not paying for a tool to find them for you. And I've done other episodes on those tools. So I'm now on sam.gov. Now, what I want to do when I'm on the sam.gov screen is at the top, there's a couple of menu items: home, search, data bank, data services. I'm going to click on search. And that's going to take me to a new screen. Now, next, when I am in this screen, underneath the search bar, which you could type something in there and just search for it. But what I want you to do is go to where it says select domain, all domains. I'm going to expand that. And it's going to give me a variety of things that I could choose from: contract opportunities, assistance listings, entity information, which, that's something you can use to look up other companies. Now, you don't have to have an account because there's a sign in tab here. You don't have to have an account in sam.gov to look for opportunities. These are made available to the public by and large. So you can just click on contract opportunities in that drop-down menu that I just mentioned. And by the way, I'm bringing this up because a lot of people don't even get to this screen. They'll just start searching and they don't get to the screen where they can actually start being very precise in what they're searching for. Okay. Now that I'm in the screen that I want, I have a variety of things that I can choose from federal organizations. So I could just search for things listed by the Army or the VA. Dates, meaning I could, and this does come into play, I could choose the dates of maybe when a contract opportunity is active. Notice types, and this, we're going to play with this today. Product or service information, set aside, like woman-owned small business, 8A. Place of performance, maybe you only work locally. If you're in construction, maybe you only want, opportunities in Florida. So you can do that. You can segment those out here. Contract awardee, this is more for research. If you want to see, look up incumbents or look up, contracts from a certain company. And then status, you can choose active or inactive. Right now, we are focused solely on finding opportunities. And what I want to stress here is you are not looking for RFPs, meaning request for proposal. You're not looking for RFQ, request for quotes. Those are the official solicitations that the government is sending out to ask you to write a proposal to win a contract. And it's the biggest mistake companies make when they're first starting to do this is that's what they're looking for, because it seems like it would make sense. Hey, the government wants to buy, I've got a guitar behind me. The government wants to buy 20 guitars. Well, here's the solicitation. I'm going to put my proposal in. Now, can you win a contract that way? You could, but it's going to be very hard for you to win anything if that's where you're starting. If that's the first time you're interacting with the government office that's doing the buying, odds are, and the odds are pretty good, that there are a bunch of other companies that started engaging with that office months before, if not longer. This is how you do it. This is how you find, I'm about to show you, how do you find an opportunity before that solicitation comes out, because that's where you want to engage in the market research phase. So what I'm looking for, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to notice type. And in notice type, there's another drop-down menu. And this is where I can look for things. And you can see here, it says like solicitation, right? So if I click solicitation, I'd be getting exactly what I don't want right now. I'd be getting every solicitation from the government asking for a proposal. Remember, handcuffs are on when the solicitation comes out. You're not going to influence it. If you're asking questions, the only way they're going to answer you is in probably a posting on sam.gov to all the companies, right? Because the government's going to be very careful here about showing any preferential treatment. Once that solicitation comes out, the requirements set, the funding set. But in the market research phase, you have a tremendous opportunity to meet with the government and to actually influence how they're going to buy. So in this drop-down menu, I'm going to click on one thing and one thing only, and that is sources sought. So the sources sought is a notice that the government's going to send out maybe a couple months ahead of the solicitation. And they're going to ask you questions. What kind of business do you have? How do you recommend we solve this problem, depending on, what industry you're in? And maybe it'll ask for if you have a certification like a woman-owned small business or 8A, and it's going to ask you maybe some other questions too. It might even ask you for a ROM, a rough order of magnitude cost estimate, right? So there's a few things they can ask there. Now you can put a lot into the sources sought to help influence how the government buys. And I've done entire episodes on that, but this is about how do we find the sources sought. So I've clicked on sources sought, right? So now immediately I'm going to be finding opportunities ahead of time. The next thing that I want to do is now I have to sort through all of the sources sought out there, right? Because, if you're in construction, you don't want to be seeing IT related sources sought. There's a lot out there. So there's a couple of things I could do here. I could put in a keyword, but that can give you a lot of random results that don't necessarily apply to you. I'm going to start with product or service information. Okay. Now I have a NAICS code that pops up, and I also have another drop down for product service code. The NAICS code, the North American Industry Classification Code, this is basically a broad code which categorizes products or services. So in this example, I am going to use finance and insurance. So this could be anything that you're doing in finance and insurance. It could be if you provide services or software related to that. There's a lot of different things that could fall under finance and insurance, healthcare insurance, right? There's going to be a lot that falls under this. Now, another way to do this is you can look under product service code. That gives you product service code is another way the government can classify the way they purchase different things, but it's a little bit more precise, right? So it might, if we were looking at accounting services, I believe there's a PSC code or product service code for bookkeeping. So it might give you something a lot more precise. Right now I'm sticking with finance and insurance. So when I do that and I click search, I've got 10 results. And the first one is for escrow and investment fund management support services. The response date is September 25th, 2023. It's telling me this is from the Department of Agriculture. Okay, now if I click on this, and if you built the spreadsheet that we talked about in the last episode, or you're using another CRM tool, a lot of the things that you are going to want to pull out of this sources sought are going to be in here once you click on it. Obviously I want to know when it's due. I want to know a little bit more about it. So you're going to read through the description and decide if this makes sense for you. For this example, we're just going to say that it does. It's talking about providing professional banking services and reconciliation of investment and bank accounts, yada, yada. There's an attachment here, right? That's going to give me a lot more information. It says very specifically that this is not a request for a proposal. So you're not giving them a proposal, but you are giving them something. You are putting together, a certain number of pages. It's usually under 5. Sometimes it's a little bit more, depending on how big. If this is like a $20 million contract, then they're going to ask for more information than if it's $1 million contract or a $500,000 contract. Something else that's interesting in here, and I'm not going to read the email addresses in the podcast, but it gives you the government contacts in here to respond to this solicitation. So you only want to send emails to these contacts when you respond to the solicitation initially. That's my recommendation, right? Because what your goal here is, you want to get a meeting with them. You're not always going to get one, but let's say this all makes sense. I'm going to generate a response, and then I am going to send that response to the contact. So a lot of people ask, well, hey, I don't even know who to talk to in the government. Well, if you were going to sell financial services to the Department of Agriculture, this is giving you 2 contacts that are looking for companies that do this, right? So this is a tremendous opportunity. It's giving you a lot of information. So you're going to, and we're not going to talk about how you're going to construct the sources sought in this episode, but you're going to put that together, low level of effort. You're going to send that to them, and then you're going to request a meeting. And all of that's going to go into your CRM or spreadsheet, depending on how you're tracking this. Now, as a bonus, if you are in financial or healthcare related industry, what I should say financial or insurance, but I just know that a lot of healthcare insurance is involved here. What I'm going to do is show you how to find out how much the government's spending here, right? And so I've already done a little bit of homework. So if you're following along, there are 2 ways that you can go and you can check this out. Now, right now I'm looking at GovTribe. I subscribe to this. I pay for this. So, you don't have to pay for GovTribe. And by the way, I have no affiliation with them. There's no affiliate deal. There's no anything. There should be, considering how much I talk about them. But so I can go into GovTribe and see exactly how much is being spent per the North American Industry Classification Code. And it's telling me that under finance and insurance, $112 billion over the past 3 years, which is a tremendous amount of money over the past 3 years. But you probably don't have GovTribe. So what you can do is you can go to usaspending.gov. And I'm going to start this from scratch. So usaspending.gov is it's a government website. I can go in, I can hit start searching awards. And the next thing I want to do is I'm going to look under fiscal year. The government fiscal year, remember, starts October 1st, ends at the end of September. And we're in September of 2023 right now. So this is what we call fallout fund season, meaning government's trying to spend all their money before the next fiscal year. And this is an important time for anyone selling to the government. And I've talked about that. We can address that in another episode if you guys want. If you're interested in it, just let me know. But anyway, I'm looking under fiscal years. I'm going to go back just the past 4 years. I don't really care what the government spent in 2008. I want to know what they're spending over the past couple of years. And then I'm going to go to the exact same NAICS code that we just talked about, which is finance and insurance. So I just clicked that. There's a drop-down menu on the left-hand side of the screen when you're in usaspending.gov. So this is real simple. I'm FY20 to FY23, and the NAICS code which starts with 5.2 for finance and insurance. And so if I'm doing things correctly, this will show me similar numbers to what I saw with GovTribe or whatever paid tool that you're using. Now, I can go to spending by time in USA Spending, and it's telling me, it's giving me the same numbers. I mean, it's showing 18.3 billion in 2020, 29.7 billion in 2021, 39.6 billion in 2022, 29.5 billion in 2023. These numbers are going to change almost on a daily basis because of government reporting and system lag and everything. But I might want to know, all right, well, what are they actually spending this money on, right? Because, this is a pretty broad category. And just looking at the top, USA Spending usually categorizes, it's showing me the contracts right now for those that are listening. And it usually starts with the biggest ones. And so I can look up here and I can see Humana, $38.4 billion. I mean, this is a big healthcare insurance business, right? So, I mean, we know when I look there and I see, okay, Humana, Health Net, United Health. I mean, these are healthcare medical insurance companies. Optum, I've used a lot of these myself. So for you, you're probably a small business owner. I want to know, okay, well, what are the small businesses selling? So I go to recipient type and I can click under business and I could just click on small business. And by the way, you can go and just look at woman-owned small businesses, veteran-owned small businesses. So you can do a lot of differentiating and paring down of this information to see what applies to you. But for this, I'm just going to click on small business and I'm going to click search again. And I'm going to expect a dramatic decrease in the spending, but still probably a lot. Okay, so now we're in millions of dollars, not billions of dollars, but still. So now I can see, 261 million spent in 2020, 389 million 21, 348 million in 2022, 338 so far in 2023, almost at the end of the year. And I can also go and I can take a look at, what are some of the things that, the government's buying here. And same thing. It's showing me, from biggest contract to lowest. So, for you, if it was me, if I had some type of like financial software or something or insurance software, I might go down to like one of the $1 million contracts. I can see there's something in here for pet insurance that I'm looking at. It really boggles my mind how much the government spends on different things. And I should probably just do an entire episode on pet insurance because almost no matter what you do, the government is going to be buying it. So you can go in here and see exactly, what it's all about. But point being, I can click on any of these contracts and get a lot more information about the specific contract. So that, my friends, is the episode for today. Short and sweet. It's how you find sources sought. Is this the only way to find opportunities before the solicitation? No, it's not. But this is a great way to do it, and it's a great way to get started. What I would suggest today is that you take some time to go into sam.gov and just look for sources sought within your industry, and try different NAICS codes, look for different product service codes. A lot of them will just drop down in the menu. Something else you can do is pair that with usaspending.gov like we just did and look through the NAICS and PSE codes there. And you can go back and forth and start seeing different things. If you try, don't take one code, right? Like one NAICS code. Let's say that you were selling financial software and you went in and were looking for sources sought under that finance and insurance NAICS code. Well, I could tell you that finance software, there's probably 20 different NAICS codes that could be used. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but there's multiple NAICS codes that could be used to buy something like that. So you want to play around and look under different things. And you can use a keyword too. So play around with that. Look for the sources sought. And if you see something that makes sense, that's due, in the next month or two that you can engage on, we'll put that in your pipeline. And that's how we start building some of these opportunities. Once you've engaged, you've responded to 5 or 6 of these. For instance, I just did one with the VA. I sent my sources sought response in, and now they've been reaching out to me, making sure that I know that, hey, Rick, the solicitation just came out. Like, we want you to respond to this. That's a really good sign. So are they all going to work that way? No, sometimes they won't respond. Sometimes they'll respond and they'll call you and be like, hey, you're the only one that responded to this. We want to talk. But you want to reach out to them. You're going to track that, set up a meeting, track when the next solicitation is coming out. This is a great way to get your balls rolling on the government. I could have put that a different way. I should edit that, but I probably won't. I'll probably leave it in. So get the ball rolling on your government contracting pipeline. And in the next few episodes, we'll talk a little bit more about how we can influence these, maybe some other ways that we can find those opportunities ahead of schedule. And we're going to talk specifically about how big your pipeline should be. So whether it's the spreadsheet or the CRM tool, we have a very specific formula that we use to decide the value of these opportunities and how many should be in your CRM pipeline. So thanks again for tuning in this week. If you want more help, go over to dodcontract.com. We have the academy there. You can sign up to the academy. Right now, we are taking members, and essentially what you're going to get there is you get all of our training immediately that's on-demand access. more importantly, you get the weekly coaching. So typically I'm hosting the weekly group coaching calls. You'll get to meet the other students in the academy and learn about how they're winning contracts and how they're going after those contracts. So hopefully I'll see you in the academy. If not, I'll see you or hear from you maybe on the next podcast. Leave a comment, subscribe. Let us know what you want us to cover in the upcoming episodes. All right. Thanks again, guys. Take care.